We're going to hear first from Anne R. from Brazil, an immigrant woman, artist, activist, and mother of three. Born in Brazil, she was a member of several activist communities and movements focused on social and environmental regeneration, always centering women, especially mothers, children, and nature. With solid background in mobilization, campaigning, and culture hacking, Anne is currently living in the UK and always committed to the future of life on planet Earth from the perspective of care and collaboration. So it's the first time you've come on Feminist Question Time. Thank you so much for coming.
I am not an academic. I am not someone from traditional background of feminist studies. Everything that you're going to see today is based on the story of being a woman inside patriarchy. So this is me when I was born. I was born in 1979. You saw that I put my name here on an R, and that was part of my fear of being recognized as a feminist in this day and age. So yeah, that's my full name, Anne Rami. I'm originally Brazilian and living in the UK now. And having been born in the early 80s speaks a lot about what happened to me and who I am. I am evidently a girl. I was born a girl, no surprise there. And having been born a girl meant loads of things, as you all know. This is me when I was 3 years old. And this is a presentation at the school that I was honoring Mother's Day. So yeah, that's what you can see. That's what happened to me. That's how socialization started in my life. To honor my mom, I was dressed up as what you can call a maid. And so were my colleagues. I have no recollection what happened to the boys in that day. You will see that my role was to iron clothes as a mother. And in that tiny tag there, with my mother's handwriting, it says housewife. So the idea of being a woman was pretty clear ever since I was a child. But something weird happened, and instead of getting used to that idea, I got completely revolted. And I consider myself a feminist ever since that day. I found absolutely outrageous that I was raised like that. This is the first decade of my life. I was a kid, and then as a teenager, I just dealt with everything that happened from being a woman, a girl, from turning into girlhood to womanhood. But it was basically around 2010. So in my third decade as a woman that I realized what that meant. And that came from being a mom. I turned into a mother in 2010 under the circumstances that we call obstetric violence. This is my belly. It was photographed by an artist in Brazil that has a project that's called 1/4. Her name is Carla Reiter, and she discusses obstetric violence with women in Brazil. I'm not sure how much you all know about the circumstances, but it is pretty fair to say that we are all born in pain. The scenery of the way of that children are born and mothers are treated worldwide is outrageous. It's an absolute scandal. And this is what made me understand the exact context of being born a woman in a female body and having exerted my reproductive capacities. I'm here today to talk a little bit. I mean, this is a very open conversation about the impacts of male violence on mothers and children, which is something that we haven't been discussing, in my opinion, quite honestly enough. So next slide, please. I'm going to use some data from Brazil this is where I come from. And I really encourage you to check out how is that situation going in your own country. Even though we speak about obstetric violence and we have good research on it, it is quite common that women, when they are questioned about the situation they faced during their moments of bringing their children to the world, that they always describe that they did not suffer any sort of violence. So if you ask women, have you been through violence? They will say no. And then if you ask women, were you tied up? They will say yes. Were you shushed? They will say yes. Did the doctor climb upon you? They would say yes. So 45% of women in Brazil declare that they have suffered obstetric violence. 55% of births in Brazil are cesareans, even though we know this is not a normal number. Normally, around 20%, 15 to 20% of women would need surgery for their births. 56% go through episiotomies, and 36% of women go, when they have vaginal labors, go through crystallar. Next slide, please. I'm not sure if you get the meaning of episiotomy. This is what it means. Episiotomy is a cut in the perineal area. Completely, there is no scientific evidence whatsoever that this is needed for to help the birth of a child. So it's completely not recommended. There is no evidence, and it's done worldwide. Another name for this could be genital mutilation. And this evidently happens only to mothers. The next image shows what crystallar means. This is when the doctor climbs on top of the mother, or someone in the health team that is supporting the birth, literally pushing the baby away. There's also no evidence that this is helpful. On the contrary, evidence has been showing that this is harmful and can deeply hurt not only the mother, but also the baby. This is widely done in Brazil. That's the context in which mothers are treated and babies are born. I would like to invite this reflection that we live in a society that is being born under male violence. The first information that that our children receive, that we received, is violence. And it's violence completely created by the idea that women are not human. So it's male violence, right? I invite you also to look for Carla Heiter's work. These are other images, of course, that I am not the only person that she photographed. And I like this set of images because it speaks a lot about what we women carry in our bodies when we become mothers. They are in Portuguese, but they are horror stories about that are forever tattooed in us somehow. Some of them leave scars, and some of the scars are only emotional. Only emotional. I'm not sure. I just wanted to bring this slide just to bring a context on how big Brazil is. So I like that image. If you can see, there are other names of countries that would fit in each one of the states. I am from a state that is called São Paulo, where you can read UK there. And there are 210 million people in Brazil. 54 million are under 18, and there are 67 million mothers in Brazil. That's a lot of people, yay? Since I am talking about motherhood, I thought of bringing some data, and evidently later in numbers, just so you to get the context of what it means to be a mother in my culture. 6% of the children, so from all those 54 million children, 6% of them have no fathers in their birth certificate, whereas 37% of the mothers raise their children alone. And I would risk, there's no evidence to that, But I would risk to say that the other 63 also raise their children alone, because let's face it, that men are kind of useless in the realm of taking care of human life. Not all men, I know, but in Brazil, 47% of homes have mothers as householders, so not housewives, householders. 63% of those are below the poverty threshold. I cannot make sense of how is this not being deeply discussed in every country, in every conversations about economy. How is this not being discussed? I want to insist that the treatment that society gives to mothers and children is pure male violence. Throughout my journey as a mother, as a woman, and as an activist, I've worked with many different subjects and themes. I did many different sorts of jobs related to activism around reproductive rights, breastfeeding, independent media, community building, childhood safeguarding, occupation of public spaces, random things that I've done. I got some pictures there, beautiful pictures, but everything to say that all that I done using the ancient technology of the circle of women. And I'm going to take a digression here. I'm going to go somewhere and tell you that I have a theory that we are going under extinction. There's no turning back. And one of the reasons is that patriarchy has won. But there's one thing, and one thing only, that patriarchy couldn't destroy, which is the circle of women. Women are always and have always organized somehow. And I've seen for the past 12 years, how is it that there's nothing that can stop women from sitting together, putting the children in the middle, and creating solutions for the problems that are around them. So this speaks about community. Everything that I've done so far was done with women in a circle. And my hypothesis is that if we want to spend the rest of our lives here on planet Earth as a collective humankind, this is the technology that we should be looking into. How is it that we create these circles? And this is evidently what we are doing here today is definitely one of them. But listening to women and hearing their stories, and evidently these circles and these conversations and these movements were always informed by feminism, I have recognized these women would tell me stories that really scared me in terms of how, in the name of feminism, they would basically hurt their children. And that was something that I have been observing for 12 years now. This is the name for that. They call it the transferring of oppression. So it means that if I feel oppressed by patriarchy and to be free, so to feel free from patriarchy, I should just transfer the oppression that I feel to someone that is more vulnerable than I am. And this helps, and this happens a lot in the realm of feminism and motherhood. So instead of dismantling and looking to the bigger picture and looking to the wider reasons for their oppression, mothers informed by feminism would hurt their children. And by hurt, I mean lack of care, physically hurt, abandonment, emotional abandonment. There's a trend nowadays that speaks ill of children, that openly speaks about hating children in the name of some sort of freedom for women. That is wrong. I want to suggest that compulsory motherhood and everything that we expect from mothers in terms of social behavior is not completely disconnected from our sexed bodies. Once I heard that, not once I've heard this many times, that women just birth their children. And this is the only thing that is connected to our sex bodies. And caring for their children has nothing to do with our sex bodies. I want to dispute this idea. It is not true. Anyone who has been a mother and has nursed their babies and has seen a newborn and how much they need us, their mothers, anyone who has experienced that can confirm what I am saying. There is a reason why babies need their mothers, and it's not social. It's not a social construct. I have realized that people, in the name of women liberation, would suggest, for instance, that a bottle is better for a baby because they think they are informed by feminism, but they are actually informed by capitalism. This is an old propaganda from Nestlé in Brazil, and it's a mother there, and it says, leite ninho, o melhor do mundo. That means powder milk, the best in the world, which is a lie. Human milk, breast milk, mother milk is the milk for the baby, not cow milk. This is obvious. We don't need research on that. Obvious. It's obvious. Humans are the only mammals that would drink other species' milk. I just want to say that if something that is supposedly liberating women is supporting capitalism, that's not feminism. This is the value of the global dairy market. We are talking about 800 billion a year by suggesting that mothers will be free if they feed their babies with artificial milk and give money to Nestlé. If you need data on that, you can go to UNICEF. So they would say, and there's many studies on that, on how the breastfeeding babies would be something quite important. And I'm not going romantic here. I'm talking babies need their mothers. Babies need their mothers' bodies. And that's not a social construct.
So Anne, I'm just saying you've got 1 minute left. So
okay.
Just so you know that.
Woo. Okay, so
you can carry on in the breakout rooms and talk
Great.
To the women who go there later. So just say one more thing, maybe.
Okay, so I'll just wrap it up here with a breastfeeding bit. I had much more. I am sorry, but we are talking about saving children's lives, and we are talking about giving money on one hand to the dairy industry, and on the other hand, to the pharmaceutical industry, because stopping mothers from breastfeeding and making them believe that this is liberation supports capitalism and not feminism and not motherhood and not childhood. I have more to say, and I will carry out on the breakout room. I just want to finalize saying that I heard this feminist here in the UK saying that some universities are doing the Trans Day, Remembrance Day, where they read names of transvestites that were murdered in South America or something like that. 175 transvestites were murdered in Brazil last year. And Brazil is a country that kills one child every hour from 10 to 19 years old. From 10 to 19 years old. So by the time we finish this conversation today, 2 kids in Brazil would have been murdered. And I don't see universities here in the UK doing the Brazilian Kids Remembrance Day the same way they are committed to exploit, evidently is horrible murdering people. But why is it that we're not paying attention to mothers and children? I was going to get to a point where I would make clear that mothers are being harassed by what is called feminism, but it's not, and they fall there. And these liberal type of thinking has them. And us as feminists that are more radicalized, if you know what I mean, should be looking into that group, the mothers, because they're so vulnerable in terms of the type of discourses that they will accept. And their influence is massive because it's about themselves as women, and they also care for their children. So we are talking about like a double thing here.